welcome. This is a movie review. I'll be doing a movie review, movie facts, and also a recap that's telling you everything that happened in the movie. If you can't see the movie, or if you want to see the movie but you don't know what happened in the movie, you just want to know what the movie is all about. So that's what I'll be doing here, telling you what happened in the movie, reviews about it, so you know whether or not to go ahead and watch the movie. Hi and welcome. So, with all that being said, yeah, I'm going to be making a review on facts, cast, and you've already seen the cast before reviewing this. The cast. I'm also going to be doing a recap to like tell you about the movie, like what happened in the movie, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So the movie we're doing now, it's Plan A, Plan B, and this movie it's about a relationship therapist kind of girl, and that was her work. And then her mom got her an apartment, a workspace close to a divorce lawyer, and then there were two opposite people, but attraction started to form, and that's just what this movie is about. So yeah, the movie started with a crazy tricycle running around the town, and it was a lead actress. She was trying to get to a wedding quickly, but there was traffic. She was late already. She was trying to get to the wedding, and she was the one driving the tricycle, and she was really trying to get to the to get to the wedding quickly, but it was quite a funny scene. And then after everything, um she got a call, and her phone was taped the um to the tricycle. She took the call, and it was from a lady telling her why she wasn't there and where she had gone. She then said that she went to get the name tag correctly. Apparently, the person that did the board of the marriage, of the people getting married, he didn't do the board well, so she had gone to change it because she wanted everything to be perfect. But she was now running late for the wedding, and after she was now running late for the wedding, and then she finally got to the event, and when she got there, they were already dancing. The married couple were already dancing, and she went to them and she wished them luck. She told them she was happy for them and proud of them. Apparently, she was the one that talked them into getting married, and that was her handwork. So she was happy. She told them she was happy for them, and they were dancing. She went to dance with them for a little while, and then she left the place. Then the name tag, the board that where the newly wedded names were written, newlywed was also written. It was then good. It was not perfect because she had gone to correct the mistake that was on it. And then somewhere else, our lead actor, who is a divorce lawyer, he was having a case with his clients, and he had brought them to court to divorce the both of them, and they stated that their problem was the lady. They were south and north. South, a lady was from one was from South Korea. The couple, they were explaining what the problem was, and it was that one of them was from South Korea and the other was from North Korea. I'm sorry, South India and North India, and they had different they had different languages, and the lady's problem was that the man only spoke his language and he didn't care to learn hers, and the man's problem was that the lady didn't care to learn his language, and that was the problem. That was why they were getting divorced, because of the whole language stuff. And he said after the whole language stuff, there have been a lot of issues one after the other forming and all. So they just wanted to go their separate ways. And then the judge judging the case said that he didn't see any problem with the relationship and he was not going to grant them he was not going to grant them to get divorced. And then after the lawyer, who is our lead actor, after he said what he had to say, because he was obviously a professional at this, he said what he had to say, and finally the judge granted the divorce, and then they left the court. Outside the court, the outside the court, the lead actor then gave the lady a board that said just divorced and happy. And then he told her that all that would not have happened if they had learned their they've just learned the language, all the months they had been fighting because they fought for a couple of months before seeking divorce. He then told them that all the months they've been fighting, that they would have actually used that to learn their language and not get a divorce. But it was too late now because they were divorced already. The judge had already granted them the divorce and they were going to go their separate ways. But the judge did mention that he didn't see a need of them divorcing, and he told the lead actor that his clients were once in love and he just didn't seem to care. He just wanted the divorce to be done, the lead actor. After then, back at the wedding now, our lead actress and her mom, they watched the married couple and they were so happy for them. Then her mom then complimented her because she was the one that brought them together with her whole advice stuff. And then she brought them together with the whole advice stuff. Her mom was happy for her, even though she came to the wedding late because she had to go fix their marriage stuff. And then finally, the wedding came to an end. The bride and the groom left to, because they were now married, they left to enjoy their honeymoon. And then they came to ask the girl when she was going to get married, and she was putting people together. Why don't she find somebody for herself? Those were not really their words, but what they said, this was what it meant. Then the next day, we saw in the next scene there was a picture of a workspace that was to let, and then we saw our lead actress and her mom come into the space, and her mom had rented it for her already, so she didn't have a say. And just then, she saw that there was a lawyer next to her, and it was a divorce lawyer. She then told her mom that it was a bad idea because when clients would come to look for her, they would see the divorce lawyer sign, and that was a very bad thing for people in love coming to seek advice from her about marriage. That was a very bad thing for them to see. And she said how she was uncomfortable with the space and didn't think it was going to work and all that because of the divorce lawyer that was there. But then her mom told her that she had already paid for the place and there was nothing they could do again, so she had to stay there. Then after seeing the environment and all, they then left. And then the next scene was when she went to see her sister and told her sister that she was happy for her because her sister or friend had taken her advice to get married. So they talked a little bit and she told her sister she looked so good. Her friend, she looked so good and she looked so hot. And then they had a little conversation about a lead actress mom going to watch a movie and that she was going to be alone with her little brother. And then that was it for them. And then her little brother was her little brother was then eating ice cream and then told her that she had to find somebody. She was a therapist, a love therapist, but she didn't have love herself. He told her about how she was a love therapist, but she didn't have love herself. She was not in love and all that. And then not finally, but then the next day she went to her workspace as she was trying to set everything in order everything was in their place, kept looking good, and then she was trying to place everything in order so she could begin work because she had to work there. She didn't have any choice, as much as she didn't want to work there because of the divorce lawyer there. She had no choice but to stay there. And when she and her mom had gone to see the place, the secretary of the lawyer, who is our lead actor, when she had mentioned that he was a divorce lawyer, the secretary said he wasn't a divorce lawyer, he was a family lawyer. But yes, he also did divorce and stuff. And then after she had finished setting her stuff up, then the lead actor came into his office and he saw that he gotten a neighbor in the free workspace. He then went over to say hi to her and he gave her his card, and she was happy at first. She was polite and just said hi to her neighbor. But then he said something that made her upset. He told her that he was going to give her 8% for any clients that she brought his way, and she was not a fan of people getting divorced. And then he told her that she was the plan A coming to get relationship advice, and if plan A didn't work, he was plan B, which was getting divorced. And this pissed her off. She then told him to leave her space. And then when he left her. And I forgot to mention earlier that our lead actor's name is Kosti, and our lead actress, her name is Narali. And then when she went to meet friend, her friend then told her that her mom had gone to see a movie with someone and they were going to be back late. She then told her that Karam was upstairs. Karam was like her son. She told She told Nali that Karen was upstairs and she was going, she needed to go get some action and all that. Then she went up with Karen, she then made ice cream for him. When she was babysitting him for her friend, then after making the ice cream, he then came out to see what she had made. Then, when he saw all the ice cream and desserts, it was all sweet and ice cream. He then said that his mom was going to be so mad at what was happening. And then the lead actress told him not to worry about his mom, that she was going to handle it. He should just eat what she had brought for him and enjoy it. And then while they were having the ice cream and all that, he then started to tell her about how she didn't want to forget her ex, and how she he wa- and how he was all she thought about, and that she really needed to live her life. He also said that her life was more like his mom's old phone that had a lot of old pictures, old files that slowed down the effectiveness and slowed down how it works. He said that was like her life. She couldn't move on because of what she had in her heart. She told him she was a psychologist and not him, and she was the one to be giving relationship advice and not him, and it was all a joke, and he just laughed over it. And then at Costy's side, he was at a party with his friend and his friend's wife, and then he was at the dance floor dancing and being happy dancing. Then his friend's wife said she wanted to leave, but his friend said no. Costy was still dancing. She then told him that he was not, that she wanted to get some action, and then he understood the sign immediately, and then said that okay, they were going to leave, but just after the last dance, which was what they were at then. Just then, just then, after everything, then the show Costi, he was really dancing and so happy. He kept on dancing and he could dance. He was a good dancer, And then after everything, he was dancing with ladies and it all. And our lead actress, when she was with the baby kid, she was babysitting. He was also teaching her how to dance. And then finally, Kosti was drunk and his friend took him home. Then his friend's wife told him that he should help his friend Kosti find a girl, that if not, he was not going to get any action at all. And then he said, okay, he was going to do that, but he just wanted to sleep first. But then his wife told him that he was going to sleep outside and not in the room with her until Kosti found a girl. And then finally she kicked him out. He had to stay outside for the night. She also brought food out for Kirsty, said it was for him in case he got hungry in the night when he wakes up and he needs to sober up. The food was for him. She also made sure her husband did not get into the room with her, as she said he was not getting any action until Kirsty found a friend, found a girl for himself. He was not going to get any action. And then the next morning, when Kirsty's friend woke up, he went to the living room just for him to see Kirsty with a girl. He was then so shocked and surprised. He knew his wife was not going to buy the idea or like what had just happened. So he tried to tell Kirsty to tell the girl to leave and to also live with her as well, so that his wife doesn't wake up and see them, because she was going to get so mad and so angry at them. Then the girl that Kirsty brought woke up and asked him where the washroom was. He then showed the girl where the washroom was and then woke up Kirsty and told Kirsty that they had to leave before his wife wakes up, because his wife was not going to like it if she saw them, and she was going to be so angry. So then the girl then Kirsty stood up and the girl came back from the washroom. Kirsty then told her that they had to leave because his friend's wife was going to be. He didn't really explain. He just told the girl that they had to leave, and then she got dressed because she was previously half dressed. She got dressed and got ready to leave. Kirsty too got dressed and they both left his friend's house, told them, said their goodbyes, and then they left his house. Then the next day at the office, Kirsty went to work. He was hungover. Then when he got to his work, he could perceive pickles, and the smell was not so good for him. He then he then told his secretary, told her, scolded her for eating the pickles, but then she said she wasn't the one eating the pickles. And then he looked over at Narali's side and he saw that she was eating something. He then walked over to her and asked her who, which insane person would eat pickle early in the morning and all that. And she was also burning incense. And then he told her to do something about it because the whole office stink and everybody probably was not okay with it. Riley then told him that he was the only one complaining. He should look around, no one else was complaining, just him. He was the only one complaining and upset. He then told her that this was a shared workspace, so she had to mind what she was doing. And then he told her to do something about it because he said the smell was much. Then Riley on the fan, which she on the fan, and then the other people that shared the workspace with them were just staring at them and watching. And then he said she had a weak sense of smell, and then she told him he was shameless and rude. And then that she also told him that it was a common Indian smell and he should deal with it. After saying all this, he looked so mad at her because of what she had said, and he left her place. She then smiled because obviously she won the fight. And then the next day, while they were trying to get up to their floor, the whole building, he was stopping the elevator. When he got into the elevator, he then saw Natalie coming and she was signaling to him to stop the elevator to hold the elevator for her because she was coming, but he did not. Instead, he tried his best to make the elevator go faster so he doesn't have to share the elevator with her. And then when he went up, he when he went up, he then she then came behind him because she had come up. She came behind him and told him, she scolded at him, told him that he practiced civil law, that he should also practice common sense, saying it wasn't a tax. And then she said, told him he was rude and arrogant, and she kept on pointing at him. And then she said that why wouldn't he hold the elevator? What if it was an elderly person? What if it was an old woman or an old man? That it was so rude of him not to hold the elevator. And then he said because he said then he didn't make the statement. He said because they were not as annoying as she was. She then got so mad and asked him what he said. And then he didn't reply. She then asked him if he was scared. And then he said he didn't have time for all the drama she was displaying this morning. Said he didn't have time for that because he had a client waiting. And then at his office, someone was waiting for him. And she also said yes, she also had a client waiting, so she didn't have time for it too. And just then she looked at her office and saw that it was empty, no one had come to her office. And then he then made fun of her and told her matchmaking in the time of Tinder was as good as useless, and anyone could just meet anyone and get married. And Tinder was there, so she was literally wasting her time. Just then, after he said all, the couple that Nari was waiting for stepped in and they apologized for coming late. And when they apologized for coming late, he then went to his office and she went to her office too. And then Selena, who was his secretary, told him that the lady was waiting for him, so he had to go meet her and hear her out. And then he walked to his office and went to meet the lady that was waiting for him. And then when he got to his office, the lady then looked at him and said she wasn't, and asked him if he was the one she was waiting for. He said yes. The lady then said she didn't expect him to be young, that she was expecting an old bad tractor, but instead she's seeing an SUV. And then he said it didn't matter which car it was, as he said it didn't matter which model it was, as long as it was functioning. And then she then told him about her divorce. She wanted to get divorced because she and her husband, they were not working, things were not working out with them, and she wanted to go her separate ways. She didn't want to stay with him anymore, and she didn't want to stay with him anymore. And then she also said that he then asked her what she wanted from the wedding, from the divorce, asking her what she wanted, if it was his savings, if it was property or cash or house, or which of his accents she wanted. She then said she wasn't after his money, but she wanted custody of Pat. She said she wanted custody of Pat. She said she didn't want her husband to take custody because Pat could not even poop without her. He could not do anything without her, and it was so difficult with him. And then she said her husband would not take good care of Pat and all that. And then she then said that Costi then asked her how old Pat was. She said Pat was 9 years. And then she also said he was so confused why he could not poop at 9 years. But just then she also mentioned that he could not mate without her. Then she was so confused and he was so confused, and they asked how her child was mating at 8 years, 9 years old. And then she said that Pat was her dog, and it all made sense after she said that it was a dog. And then back at back at Narila's place, the people she had been waiting. They came to complain that the matchmaking she did was not really working, and they were like two different people, two different souls. They were so opposite. They said they've been on 3 dates, but it wasn't working. They were literally the opposite of each other, and they could not agree on the same thing. The man said that he liked cats and the lady liked dogs, and he liked to ride bikes, but she depended on Uber and said it won't work. And then she also said that he was so fixed on his football, didn't pay attention to her. He knew all the names of the European footballers, but didn't know her uncle's name. And then he said, why would he know her uncle's name? He said, why would he know her uncle's name? And then Naila um told them that it was not. Then the lady said that she wanted someone else. She didn't want the person that Naira had matched with her. Then Naira told them that it was not a shopping mall, it's not a place where you come, and it was not Amazon where you make your choice, put in your card and then you pay out. That it was love, and love was not something to be rushed or anything. She then told them to recite their daily affirmation every day, saying long live love. She told them to say it to themselves and before saying to one another every day. And then they started to say it and they started to echo it, and everybody in the workspace could hear it, including Kirsty his his client. And then he then asked her, told the client he was going to be back, he needed to go handle the matter. The client said okay. Then he left there and went to then he went to Narali's office and he was angry because he said that she was going to spoil his business and that it affected his divorce. And then he called her out. He didn't just say it in front of the others. He called her out before telling her that shouting the falling in love, that his business could suffer. And then he told her that she was a problem, told her that she was a problem, and told her that this was a shared workspace, like he had said earlier, and she needed to be quiet. She didn't need to extend whatever she was doing to the other sides because it was going to affect them as well. And then after saying all this, they left. Then he told her to be silent. It was a shared workspace and she should not be very noisy. He told her she had to be silent, and that was it for them. And then the next day, he was drinking coffee with his secretary, Selena, and then he he said that Nali was the problem in the whole office, in the whole workspace. He said she was the problem, and then unknown to him, Nali came behind him and she stood listening to him. Then he continued saying, no wonder she was single. He said that he would no wonder she was single because her boyfriend would not keep up with her. And he also said that everything was so bad about her, saying that she will not even forget about having a boyfriend, forget about not having a boyfriend, that if she has any social media platform, she would also not have followers. And he said even if she had he also said even if she had a boyfriend, he won't end his life and not be with her anymore. He said all this and she stood behind him listening to it all. And then just the Selena, his secretary, turned and saw that Nari was behind him listening to all the hurtful things he was saying about her. She then tried to tell Kosti that the person he was talking about was behind him so he could stop talking, but he kept on shutting her up and trying to finish what he was saying, and he didn't know Nayeli was there. And just then, the secretary found a way to call his attention to the fact that Nayeli was behind him. She did that by asking Nayeli if she wanted to take anything. Just then, Kosti found out that Nayeli was actually behind him, and he then stopped talking. Just as he was trying to turn and face Nayeli, she left, and she was actually crying. she was actually crying, and she was trying, she recalled some things, and that made her really sad. And then she left after she had it all. And then at a club, Costi was with his friend, and he told his friend that Nali was such a drama queen, and that she started crying when she had all he said. He also said that she was annoying, and that everything about her is messy. He said her office was messy, her hair was messy, and that he could not stand her. And then his friend told him to try and chill. He then told him to stop. His friend told him to stop talking about Nile. He told him that he had been talking about Nile since he got there, and he told him to chill and stop talking about him. And then after all the chill and stop talking about Nile, his friend then started to talk about his friend then started to talk about Kosti's ex, saying that he had been lonely since she left. He also asked her. He also asked him if he also asked him if he asked him about her, and he said she was still sleeping with her boss. He then told Kosti how sure was she, if he called her. He said no, but his ex dad had told her about it. And then his friend kept on asking and asking. Then he told his friend to call his ex, or call his ex Ray. Um, he then told his friend to call his ex himself, to call Ray and confirm from her if she was still indeed sleeping with her boss. And then Nali was at a clothing store, and one of her auntie tried to persuade her to go on a blind date, telling her that her nephew came around and she should show him around. And then Nali kept on remembering when she kept on remembering about her ex, and saying that she could not, and remembering about all the events when she had gone on blind dates and tried to match with somebody. She just kept on talking about her ex, which made them very discouraged and made them not to be interested in her anymore. She then told her aunt that she was not interested in meeting anybody, and then her aunt told her that a matchmaker should not be single. It was not a good sign. And then just as she was saying it all, she then said, Narely then said that she could not forget her ex. And before she could say it all, the ladies in the clothing store echoed it for her. They completed it, saying that she could not forget her ex, which meant it was a very common thing, and she had been saying it a lot for them to know that that was going to be her next response. It meant she had been saying it about it a lot. And then they told her she had to forget it all and she had to move on. She then They told her she had to forget it. And her mom was one of the ladies in the clothing store. They told her she had to forget it or she had to move on, because all the blind days she had been going for, none of them were working, because she kept on comparing them to her ex. And of course, they didn't like that. It made her not to have any luck in the matchmaking, have any luck in the blind dates, and it just left her there. So they are trying to tell her she had to move on and forget about him so she could live her life. And then she was married, then went out with her mom. She was having a drink with her mom out. Then her mom told her that she really needed to forget her ex. Her mom then told her that she should look at her and take her for an instance. She had not, since her father passed away, she had not forgotten about him, but she was still living her life. Then she told Nali that you live just once. In this life, you have just one life, and you have to make good use of it. You really have to make use of it. And then just then, Nali replied angrily, telling her mom how could someone just leave, telling her mom that they went to the same school together, they went to the same college together. Even after college, they lived together for 2 years. They've been together for all this while. She also said that even before she knew she wanted something, she wanted it. They were so close, but he just left. there was anger and sadness in her tone. And then and then her mom told her to go sleep with someone, and she told her mom it was not just about that. And then at work, they were talking about 90% compatibility, and then she said that okay, the person at her work said that they were 90% compatible, but then they were not physically attracted. And then she told them that there was going to be a test, an experimental test on Saturday, that they should come around. And then that they should come around. She also told them that they were going to really like the test. They should come around and see what the test was going to be all about, only about saying it was not only about being compatible or having a lot of things in common, being similar, having a lot of likes in common and dislikes in common. It also needed to do with physical attraction and how you really like the person physically. And then at Kosti's office, he got a text, and when he saw the text, it was from Ray, his ex. And then when he saw the text, he then ran out of the office and ran to the steps, trying to avoid his ex who was coming up in the elevator. And then and then his ex came in, Ray, she came in and she went to his office, saw he was not there. She then asked Selena, his secretary, asked her where Kosti had gone. She then said she hasn't seen Kosti, but Narali, who was there and who saw that Kosti ran out and saw the direction, she she Natalie saw where Kosti had gone to, so she told Ray where Kosti had gone to, told her that he had run to that place. Then the lady said Ray said that he was such a coward and said that he was not a lawyer but he was a liar, and said that he could not escape her forever. and and she was saying all sort of things about him, of which Narali said it was true. And then she told the lady that she knew him so well. And then she then asked Narali if she had business with him. She said no, but she shared the workspace with her. And then the lady said it was a divorce case. Said she had a divorce case with Kosti. And then she said that Nali asked her if she wanted coffee so they could talk, because they were having a lot of things in common. Their opinion about Kosti were similar. Then the lady said yes, she was going to have tea with Nali. And then Larry then asked her who she was. She said she was Kosti's wife, and she was trying so hard to be his ex-wife, but um Kosti won't agree to that. And she said that she was telling her that she was trying so hard to be Kosti's ex-wife, but Kosti wasn't granting her the divorce. He kept on running away and trying to hide from it. And then Natalie said that maybe he was doing it because he didn't want to let her go. But Ray said no, that he was doing it because he wanted to suffer her, and he didn't want to lose because he didn't like losing. Then she went ahead to tell Natalie about him, about Kosti. She told Natalie about Kosti, telling her that um saying all the bad things that Ekosti did, how it all went wrong, saying that um, he was so obsessed and trying to keep a lot of things correct. Also saying that he would wait till she had to when they went to restaurants, he was so picky and he had to make sure everything he ordered was correct. He drank coffee with just 2 spoons of tone milk and nothing less, nothing more. One time the waiter brought more and he said the order wasn't for them and told the waiter to take it back. She also said he was so obsessed with cooking and would not let her go into the kitchen. He said he was so obsessed with cooking and he was an amazing cook. She said you could go do shopping, go out with friends, do whatever you wanted to do, but you were not allowed in the kitchen with him while he cooks. He loves to cook, but he loves to cook alone, and you can only get into the kitchen when he was done cooking. She also said he was an amazing cook and made lots of her favorite food and all by himself. She also said he was one of Mumbai's biggest. She was he worked at one of Mumbai's biggest law firm, but then he had a fight with the law firm because he dropped a case that was a very serious case. He dropped the case because the lady was lying, and then he said he wasn't going to handle the case again, thereby going into arguments with his law firm, and they had to let him go. And he left the workplace. He resigned, and then Nali then told her that there must be a reason why she married him. And then she said yes, that he was a big romantic, and he was also a very good chef and cooked for her. She also said that he was also a great dancer and he danced very well. He danced so well, and one time at her birthday, he did a special dance for her, and he was so romantic. She also went ahead to say that she cheated on him. And then she said since childhood, she always wanted a good life, first class tickets to travel, a lot of traveling, vacations, holidays. She said she wanted it all, but Kosti was just so happy with his life. He was just so happy with whatever. And then she said that their thoughts were very, very different, and she didn't think they had a chance together. She didn't think they had a chance together anymore. And and then she said that Kosti was holding on not because he missed her and wanted things to be well, but because he was angry and he doesn't like to lose. She then pleaded with Nali to please talk to her and to please talk to Kosti and try to get him to accept the divorce. And then Nali said she would help her talk to him, but Kosti hates her and they were like cat and dog in the office. And she said she could not help her talk to Kosti. But then she kept on asking Nali to please help her talk to Kosti. And then finally she agreed and said she was going to talk to him. And then she said then Ray said she had to leave. Said she had to leave because she was late for her flight. And then she also pleaded with Nali once more to please talk to Kosti for her and help her. Then Kosti had left their office. He left their office and he went out to a spa with his friend where he was waiting for Ray to leave his office. And then then his friend then told him to just give her the divorce. And then he told his friend not to put his nose into his life, into his cave. And then his friend kept on trying to tell him to just let her go. Then he asked his friend how he know. His friend told him that's not what Ray wanted, that Ray just wanted to be free. And then he asked his friend how will he know that. Then he said that he was a married man. He knew it from Wikipedia, which means his wife and his ex were still in touch. And then he told Kosti to just give her the divorce, just grant her the divorce. Then Kosti said that he was not going to grant her the divorce because he wanted her to suffer. But his friend then said that he has been the one suffering for 4 years after it all happened, saying then he told his friend he was not suffering, and he brought out his phone and showed his Tinder to his friend, telling his friend that just a swipe and all the girls were a choice and he was not suffering. And then he said he got it all. And then his friend told him that he was sad because he could not bear that she left him. And he also said and his friend also said he wanted everything to be done his way, which was what made everything go wrong, which was him wanting everything to be done his way was what made everything in their marriage go so south. Then after talking with his friend and trying to settle stuff, though it didn't really settle, he then had to go back to his office and he went back around 8 because he had to go get his laptop. He went back to get his laptop. And then when his friend drove him to this office, it was already 8 and he saw that the lights were out. He then said that everybody was going to be gone too and that he could go back for his laptop, and he could go back for his laptop because Nali was not, because his ex-way must have gone home by now, so he could finally go back for his laptop and get his stuff without anybody seeing him, especially Ray. He could go back and get his stuff without Ray seeing him because she was the main reason why he left the office. She was the main person he was trying to run away from. And then after after going into the office, he didn't expect to see anyone. Then when he went to the office, it was all dark. He was trying to just sneak and get his bag. But just then the lights went off and it was Narali. She was still around. She then told him that his wife was here, and she also told him that his wife asked her to talk to him and cool him down. And then she said she told to him that they talked about a lot of things. They talked about him especially, talked about their marriage, and she then said they talked about a lot of things about their marriage and things that made them break up. Saying that she talked about the clothes, about her cheating on him, that he was a good cook, that he was so romantic. And while she was mentioning all this stuff, Kosti got so angry and he yelled at her, and then he left. When he went back to his friend's car, he was so angry. And then he told his friend he was so pissed because Ray had told Nali about them, told Nali about everything that had happened with them, like told her everything, and he was so angry and so annoyed at her, at Ray, and also at Nali. And then he was now like they discussed about him. Then the next day, Nali got into an elevator where Kosti was too. He was in the elevator. Nali brushed before it closed, and then she stopped the elevator and then went in. Just as the elevator was about to close, Kosti stepped out of it, and then the elevator closed and went up. And then he was then trying to stop another elevator which was not coming fast. He was so mad and he was trying to let out his frustration on his back. He was so mad at her because of everything, and he said he hates her. And then after everything, he said he hates her. And then back at the office, Nali was making friends with Serena, and it was the normal routine of them hating each other. Of course, they are Nali hating each other, they would insult each other. And then he gave her a foot mat saying marriage is dead, and she got angry. She gave him a cultural plant, and everything was going angry. Everything was going bad. Everything was going okay, but they were still, there was so much hatred for one another in them. And then a night, Natalie went out with her friend and she was drunk, and then they were talking about Kosti, and she said that he was a good dancer, that what if he was a good dancer. She said she could dance as well. Then she started to dance and make a fool of herself. She was so drunk. People around were laughing at her. And then people were around were laughing at her. And then after all the laugh, she then left. Back at Kosti, he was with his friend and his friend's wife, and his friend's wife was asking him why he sent the girl away, the girl that was in their house previously. She said she wanted to meet them, and she was mad at Kosti for sending the girl away so fast, saying that she had seen the girl through the window when Kosti was sending her away, and she said that the girl looked hot and she would have loved to meet her. She would have loved to meet her. And then back at Nali, she was so drunk and she finally left the restaurant with her friend. And then she left the restaurant with her friend. And when she left the restaurant with her friend, she then went outside and she was still talking about Kosti. Then her friend told her that why was she talking about Kosti? She had been talking about Kosti for 4 hours and she had not talked about her ex. Her friend also said it was a good thing that Kosti was taking her mind off her ex because apparently normal on a normal day all she would talk about was her ex. All she would do was think about her ex and say how keep on talking about her ex. It was either one thing about her ex or the other. So her friend said that Kosti was a good that she was happy that Kosti was actually on her mind. And then back at Kosti, his wife's friend, his friend's wife was talking and then she asked Kosti where she had met the girl that came to their place the other time. And then Kosti said he met her on a dating app. And then his friend Kosti's friend, her husband, then said something, and the lady then said she knew it. She knew that she said she knew that her husband wanted her to leave so he could be screwing around. She then turned to Kosti and she scolded him. She asked him what he was teaching his friend and said what he was teaching his a married man. He was corrupting his married friend, corrupting a married man, and then Kosti's friend tried to defend him, and but his wife shut him up. She said that Kosti was also her friend, and she had a right to scold him too. She had a right to fight with him, and then she said that he wanted to ruin their marriage. Then back at Nali, who was so drunk, when her friend was telling her that she had been talking about Kosti for the past 4 hours and not talking about her ex. And she also said it was a good thing that Kosti was on her mind because it made her not think about her ex and not talk about her ex for a whole 4 hours. And then why do I saying all this? Just then, they left the restaurant, got into a taxi, and they left to their house. But when they got to their house, she continued telling Nali about this. And just then, the taxi came back and told Nali's friend that she had forgotten her phone in the taxi. Then she went back to pick her phone, leaving Nali alone. Just then, Nali brought out, picked up her phone, and she called Kosti, but Kosti ended the call. She called him again and he ended because he was sitting with his friend and his friend's wife. They were having the argument about him ruining their marriage and all. So his friend's wife saw that he was declining a call and the girl was the one calling him. She then got curious and asked him who was calling him, and then she picked the call for Kosti. And when she picked the call, Nali then started to bash Kosti, saying a lot of hurtful words, saying a lot of rude words to him, telling him he was a hypocrite, and telling him how he made a lot of people get divorced, but he didn't want to get divorced. He didn't want to grant his wife divorce, but he granted a lot of people divorce, and he made a lot of people get divorced, but he didn't want to divorce his wife, and she said a lot of bad things to him, and just then Nali's friend saw that Nali was on the phone and she was speaking to Kosti in a bad manner. She then tried to get the phone from Nali, but Nali ran and she could not meet up with Nali and get the phone from her. Then they kept on running and Nali got into the elevator and the elevator got shut. And then she continued saying a lot of things, saying that he thought he was smart, but he was so scared and he was a coward, and told him a lot about his own divorce. And then she kept on saying a lot of hurtful words, kept on insulting him, but she was focusing more on him not granting his wife the divorce. Then after saying a lot of things, The people that Costi were with, which was his friend and his friend's wife, they looked so shocked because nobody had actually opened up to tell Costi all the stuff that the person over the phone was telling him. Then after Nile had finished saying, she then ended the call and she actually felt better after all winning the insults on him. And then Kosti didn't say anything. He just drank, he just kept on drinking. And his wife's friend even passed him a drink. So he could keep on drinking because she knew the weight of the insult that Nile had just laid on him was great. And then the next day at work, Nali felt so embarrassed because of the scene she had pulled the day before, and she hid her face with glasses and a scarf. She tried her best to hide herself so she doesn't bump into Kosti, and so she doesn't see Kosti, and so Kosti doesn't see her as well. And then Kosti got to work too. He was also trying to hide himself. He had shades on too. He was also trying to hide himself from her so she doesn't see her too. And then Nali then sneaked into her space, her workspace. She then got a lot of deliveries throughout the day. Not throughout the day, she got a lot of deliveries that morning. She was carrying them all into her office so she could block the see-through screen, the see-through glass that was demarcating her office, so Kosti could not see her. And then Kosti, on the other hand, he looked so restless, and then Nari tried to hide herself and all. And Kosti was so restless, and then he tried to meditate. And then Nali still trying to hide herself. Someone called her name and she turned back and found out it was her clients that she was waiting for. It was her clients that she was waiting for. Then she went to them and called them in. And then Kosti was trying to meditate. He had his eyes closed and he was trying to meditate. And then he starts to hear started to hear a very loud noise coming from Nali's office. She was hitting two metal together and it was so loud it distracted him from his meditation. And then he went to stop her, but when he got there he heard what she was saying and saw what she was doing. She was hitting two metals together and they made a sound that was so bad to the ear. But when she hit a metal and wood together, it actually made a bad noise, a good noise. And so Nali was trying to explain to her clients that opposites, that things that are not the same times could be good. Things that are not the same sometimes could be good. And she said life was not always perfect, and she said that sometimes being opposite could be a great thing. And then she said not to run away from life because life was not always perfect. Then she kept on talking and talking and saying a lot of things about how opposite could be good, how two things that are opposite could be good. And she emphasized on the two metals she had banged together that made a bad noise to the ear, and the metal and wood that actually made a good sound. She was trying to talk about that, and Kosti was at her door. He just stood there listening, and then finally he stood there listening, and after a while he felt what she was saying, and then he just left her office and left. When Nali had finished speaking with her, when she had finished speaking with her clients, Kosti was then walking past there. He saw a lady coming. She had a lot of bags with her and she was almost falling. Then he helped the lady with the bags. And just then, when Nari saw them, she came out because the lady with the bags was her mom. She then came out and then she came out and then Nali introduced them. Nali then told her mom that this was Kosti she had been talking about. Then Kosti told her that she doesn't look anything like her mom. And she also said that both in age and in temperament that Nali's mom was nothing like her. that she was a lot better and she was younger too. And this made Natalie happy. This made Natalie's mom happy. And then Kosti offered her coffee and she said yes, and she went to have coffee with Kosti. And then after everything was going on, Kosti then Natalie's mom then invited Kosti to her birthday, and she told them to better come. She invited everybody around, told them to she invited everybody sharing the workspace with them, and she told them that they should come for her birthday party. It was in 2 weeks and she didn't want them to miss it. She said that they should all make sure they were there and she didn't want to hear any excuses. Nali was sitting just at the corner listening to them and seeing her mom tell them a lot about her birthday. And then she also said that her mom said she had to go for practice, that she had been practicing her dance. The dance she was going to perform at her mom's birthday, she had been practicing it. The dance she was going to perform at her birthday, she was practicing it. And then Natalie then made Natalie then told her mom that she should also invite the gatemen and the guards. She should also invite them, which she said it with sarcasm, but Natalie's mom also said she was going to invite them on her way out. She then told them about her practice, how she needed to go for practice, and and then she how she needed to go for practice, and then she left the place and she left with Nali. Nali then went to her office to grab her stuff. She grabbed her stuff and she went to her mom and they started to leave the office. Then her mom asked her if anything was going on between she and Kosti, and she told her mom that she hated Kosti so much and that nothing was going on between them. And she said that they argued a lot and there was a lot of fights. And then her mom told them that her mom had personally invited Kosti, telling him to come. This made Kosti and Nali argue in front of her. And then she said that her birthday was going to be fun with no fights, and she told them not to fight on her birthday. And after that, they left. Then her mom asked, then she asked her mom why she had invited Kosti. Her mom said that she was a matchmaker too, and said that she felt the chemistry between the two of them. And then her mom told asked her what kind of psychologist doesn't leave her past and move forward. And then at work the next day, she was doing the voluntary test that she had said she was going to do earlier. This was the test she said she was going to do earlier, and this was what she was doing. So the test consisted of people closing their eyes and they had to move to somebody they felt drawn to, and they had to follow that person, and no one was going to say anything. No one was allowed to talk. They just had to blindfold their eyes and avoid visual distraction. And they were supposed to follow the scent of whoever it was and follow the aroma and whatever they perceived. They were supposed to follow that and go. And that was that was what the text was all about. And then the she handed out the scarf to tie their eye to blindfold their eyes, and they started the test. They all blindfolded their eyes except for Nali, and there are men and women there. They all then started to move towards whatever they felt they were being drawn to. And after a long time, they kept on doing it, and Naomi said if they felt drawn to someone, they should follow the person and they should all be quiet. None of them should say a word. And then, as they were all moving closer and closer to people, just then, just then, a man went towards Selena because he felt drawn to her. And then he went so close to Selena, and then Selena tried to say something that he had gone to the wrong place, but he told her not to talk, and he kept on taking her scent in, and also Selena enjoyed that. She was also taking his scent in. Just then Natalie came and she tried to apologize to Selena and tell her that was a misunderstanding and they were having a test in her side of the workspace, and he must have lost his way because he had blindfolds on. But Selena told her it was okay, and they both told her that there was no problem and she should like leave them to be. And just then Natalie smiled and she left them, and then Selena took off the guy's blindfolds, and they both looked at each other and they smiled. And then and then Nali went for her mother's dance practice. Her mom and her other friends were practicing with her. They all looked happy. They were having their dance practice, and Kosti was also there. Then, while Nali's mom and her friends were practicing the dance that they wanted to perform on her birthday, while they were practicing the dance, Kosti came in and then he told Nali that he wanted to speak to her. He said he wanted to speak to her and tell her something. And then Nali asked him what it was, what he wanted to tell her. Then he said that he didn't want them to fight, that he wanted them to be on good terms because of Nali's mom and because of her birthday coming up. He said that he saw that the birthday meant a lot to Nali's mom, and he didn't want her to feel bad, or he didn't want to spoil her birthday and spoil her joy because of their fight. He then told Nali that they had to be on good terms and keep the past behind them. And Nali thought for a while and she said, okay, she was not going to fight. She told him, let's not fight again because of her mom. And he said, okay, and they both agreed with that. Then Nali said thank you because she felt he was making an effort to make her mom's birthday go well. And just then, Kosti asked her if she wanted to join the ladies, and she snapped at him immediately. Asked him if she looked like she was 40, and she said if she looked like she was 60, and she said she was not 60 because Nali's mom and her friends they were around 60. And then just then she saw that he was just trying to help and make a conversation. She then told him she was sorry for the way she had snapped at him, and she said she didn't want to dance because she doesn't dance anymore. She said it's been 10 years since she stopped dancing, and but she thanked him for asking. And then the dance practice continued, and the ladies they were all happy. There was joy written all over their face. And then at work the next day, Nali went to make coffee for herself, and she also made some for Kosti. And when he came out, he thanked her and took the cup. Then he said thank you and he took the coffee and left. And then there were more dance practice with Nali's mom. She practiced more for her birthday. And then Kosti had a lot of divorced people coming in and he won the case. And then a lady with a child came, and when Kosti told them that the divorce was granted, she was so happy. She hugged him and she told him that he saved her. She also said that she also said that he was like a god for her. And then the friend of the son of Nali's friend, the one she fed ice cream previously, came by to the practice place where Nali's mom was practicing her dance. She met Kosti and told him they needed to talk. He told Kosti that they needed to talk, and then they left to a corner. When they got there, he then started to tell Kosti what had brought him. He then told Kosti that then Kosti asked him how he knew him and Nali had said if Nali had said he was her friend. He then said that no, Nali said never said he was her friend. She said awful things about him. He also said that Nali's mom said nice things about him, but she was an old lady, so he could not really believe all that she said. And then then while they were talking and all, he was telling then the little boy told Kosti that Nali's mom loved everybody. Nali's mom liked everybody. And then Nali was in a tricycle going somewhere, and just then in traffic, a red car pulled close to her. And then she got so scared. She brought out her pepper spray to use it on the man in the car because she thought he was probably a pervert or something. And just then the man tried to show her a picture on his phone, but she wasn't listening. And then the light turned green, so the tricycle and started moving, and he could not show Nali. The man in the car, in the red car, could not show Nali what he wanted to show her. And the man in the red car was Kosti's friend. And then finally there was another traffic, and when the second traffic came, he then was able to pull out his phone and show Nali a picture of him and Kosti, and he said he was Kosti's friend. She stopped for them to talk, and while she got into his car and they were then talking, he was actually pleading with he was actually pleading with Nali. He said Nali was a matchmaker, so she could actually help them. He said that Nali he pleaded to Nali to help them because his friend didn't want to have a divorce and he was frustrating his lives. He then That was what he tried to tell Nali, and he tried to tell her everything, and he tried to tell her everything. He said he had followed her from the office to where he met her, and he could not talk to her at the office because he didn't want Kosti to know. He then told her to please do something about Kosti, saying that he was married. What he actually told Nali to help him with was for her to help him to make a match for Kosti, for her to find someone for Kosti. And then Nali said, but he was married. He then said it was so complicated, and he said that she helped people find love, and that was her job. And he also said that was her job. And he also said that his friend really needed somebody, and Nali was the person he came to. He pleaded for Nali for help, told Nali to please help him and find someone. But Nali kept on saying that he was married and there was no way she was going to find a match for a married man. But he but now Kosti's friend told Nali that this was complicated, and he said he was going to call his wife on video call so she could explain to Nali, which he did, and she then explained to Nali it all. And his main reason for coming to Nali was because of the call when she was insulting, was for her to help him to make a match for Kosti, for her to find someone for Kosti. And then Nali said, but he was married. He then said it was so complicated, and he said that she helped people find love, and that was her job. And he also said that was her job. And he also said that his friend really needed somebody, and Nali was the person he came to. He pleaded for Nali for help, told Nali to please help him and find someone. But Nali kept on saying that he was married and there was no way she was going to find a match for a married man. But he but now Kosti's friend told Nali that this was complicated, and he said he was going to call his wife on video call so she could explain to Nali, which he did, and she then explained to Nali it all. And his main reason for coming to Nali was because of the call when she was insulting. That was the reason he had come to Nali, because of her calling Kosti on the phone and being plain, telling him things that nobody could. That was the main reason. And then back with Kosti and Nali's little nephew, he was telling Kosti about Nali, telling Kosti to help Nali and find a match for her. And then Kosti said that was not his job, but that was Nali's job. And then the little boy told Kosti to help him and get a match for Nali so she could forget her ex. Just then Kosti asked about Nali's ex, and the boy said that he was getting a new puppy and the puppy could help Nali also forget her ex. Kosti then asked him about Nali's ex, and then he told her that Nali's ex had passed away and it was heart attack. He just left to buy bread and he never came back. That was the reason he had come to Nali because of her calling Kosti on the phone and being plain, telling him things that nobody could. That was the main reason. And then back with Kosti and Nali's little nephew, he was telling Kosti about Nali, telling Kosti to help Nali and find a match for her. And then Kosti said that was not his job, but that was Nali's job. And then the little boy told the little boy told Kosti to help him and get a match for Nali so she could forget her ex. Just then Kosti asked about Nali's ex and the boy said that he was getting a new puppy and the puppy could help Nali also forget her ex. Kosti then asked him about Nali's ex and then her he told her that Nali's ex had passed away and it was heart attack. He just left to buy bread and he never came back. Then the boy kept on saying about Nali's ex, saying how Nali's ex had passed away, how he had passed away years ago and it broke Nali, and since then she didn't want to love again or have anything to do with anybody. The boy then pleaded with Kosi to find someone for Nali, and then he told Kosi that the person had to be a 10 because Nali's ex was so handsome. And then Kosti asked him to describe Nali's ex, and he said that Nali's ex was taller than him, better than him, more handsome than him. He was just describing Nali's ex to be someone that was so perfect and better than him. And then after it all, Kosti then agreed that he was going to help him and find somebody for Nali. He also said that he was a good friend to Nali and said that everybody needed a friend like him in their life. So now Nali and Kosti they were now cool with each other. And then Nali was making a phone call and she kept on saying she needed a man, she needs a man because her voluntary, someone that volunteered to help her earlier had bailed on her and now she needed a man to finish a text she was running. And the test was about a test. They had to take a test to know how compatible they were. And then she needed the help so she could know if it was fit for her clients. And just then Kosti overheard all she said on her call about her needing a man and needing a help. And then he came over and said that he was a man and he could help. And then Nali said no because she was sure he was busy and he didn't have time to help her, but he said he had time and he was less busy and he could help her. Then Nali said that they could start. He then asked Nali who he was taking the test with, and she said he was taking the test with her, that they need two people. And then finally they started the test. He hid his book. He acted like a child that was writing an exam and didn't want his neighbor to peep from his book. And after everything, after hiding his book and all, he filled it. And then Nali then filled her own part. And then it was time for them to start asking each other the questions they are put so they could know how compatible they were. And then after all the acting, they were still together working. And then um Nali was then trying to set and know how compatible they were, but there was a little and she found out that it was 35% compatible, and then they said that that was a fail. And Nali said that it was actually she said that the test had a high score. Looking at how they've been fighting and how they've been enemies for a long time, that she said she was surprised the test actually didn't have a zero. She said it was good and that was a good test to take and other. And then she left. She was about getting into an elevator, and just then she saw Kosti approaching. Kosti then came close to her and said he demanded a retest. He said he wanted a retest and he wanted them to take the test again because 35% was so poor and he had been thinking it over and over. And then he said he wanted a retest. Nalia then told him that it was of no need because the first test the answer had come from heart, but the second test he would have thought it over and he would give the wrong answers that were not from his heart. Then Nali told him not to take it the wrong way and told him that they had been fighting. She told him not to take it personally, and she told him that they had been fighting, and so they were not compatible. And then she told him thank you for helping her, and then he said that it was all nonsense. And Nali then asked him if he had a better idea. He said yes. First of all, he threw the papers. He said first of all he would throw the papers out of the window, and then Ali was waiting for him to say the second part, and he didn't know how to say the second part. They were just looking at each other, and after a long time, he kissed Nali, and she was so shocked, but she kissed back. And just then, the elevator opened, and he pulled out, and he went to the elevator. He got into the elevator. Nali was still trying to understand what happened when he pulled her into the elevator. He pulled her into the elevator and they continued kissing. And just then the elevator opened and they pulled apart. Then a guy came in and the look on his face, he knew what had been going on between them. And then they were still trying to catch their breaths, they were breathing heavily. And just then the elevator opened and the boy went out and they continued kissing. And just then they went to Kosti's house and they kept on making out, but they didn't do anything because as they were making out, Kosti looked and he saw his ex picture, and just then he got himself back and he Nali kept on telling him that nothing was wrong, that they were both adults and they could take responsibility for what they had done. He then told Nali then buttoned his shirt and Nali told him that she was going to go, but um she told him that she was going to go because she had a lot of things to do at the office. But she then told him that she was going to meet him the next day at the office, to which he agreed to. And then she left. The next day at the office, she was so happy. Nali was so happy. She was putting things around. She was so happy. And then she got a text on her phone. She rushed to get her phone and look at it. Obviously, she was waiting for a text, but the text she had received was not what she was waiting for. Then she dropped her phone back, and then she dropped her phone back and she looked at Kosti's office, but he wasn't there. Then she continued to smile and um, fix her office. She called him, but he didn't pick up. Just then, just then, Selena came with a cake. She had come with the cake so she had come with the cake so she could thank Nali because the guy that had met her through Nali's test had actually proposed to her. And then she hugged Nali. Nali hugged her and told her she was so happy for her. And just then, started to tear up. Nali asked her what the problem was and asked her if she wasn't happy. She told Nali that it was not that. She told Nali that ever since she got divorced, that she thought everything was over. Nali was shocked because she didn't know she was divorced earlier. She told Nali that everything was she told Nali that her ex-husband used to hit her and that Kosti had helped her. She said she didn't think she was going to have a life after it all and she was so down. She felt that everything about her was over and she was just going to live alone. But then she told Nali that the guy how else used to hit her, and then she told Nali that Kosti came to her rescue. Kosti had helped her and Kosti had helped her and now she was engaged and she needed to pay Nali. Nali said that the cake was enough payment for her. Selena also told Nali that Kosti had helped her with the divorce and he didn't take any money from her and he also gave her a job and brought her back on her feet. And then Nali asked Selena about Kosti and she said he wasn't in the office, he hasn't come in. And Selena then said she had to go cancel Kosti's meeting and then she left. Just then, Selena had also sent that she was calling Kosti, but he wasn't picking her calls. Just then, Nali continued trying to reach him, but he was not picking his call. She was beginning to get worried and all, and she kept on waiting for his text, but nothing came. And then after a long time, she then Nali continued to call him, and then she ripped the paper where they had taken their test earlier, and then she tried to call him more, but he wasn't picking. Then she went home, tried calling him, but he still wasn't taking her calls. And days passed. He didn't come to work, and she kept on thinking of him. She kept on looking at his office, but he didn't come to work. She kept on remembering a lot of things, and then the next day, Nali's mom came to the office to look for Kosti because she hadn't seen him for days, and her dance, and he was helping them with the rehearsals, and now her dance, she was beginning to get worried and all, and she kept on waiting for his test, but nothing came. And then after a long time, she then Nali continued to call him, and then she ripped the paper where they had taken their test earlier, and then she tried to call him more, but he wasn't picking. Then she went home, tried calling him, but he still wasn't taking her calls. And days passed. He didn't come to work, and she kept on thinking of him. She kept on looking at his office, but he didn't come to work. She kept on remembering a lot of things, and then the next day, Nali's mom came to the office to look for Kosti because she hadn't seen him for days, and her dance, and he was helping them with the rehearsals, and now her dance, then Nali went to her friend's house, and she was telling her friend everything that had happened. Told her friend that maybe he lost interest and ran away. He wasn't interested anymore. She told her friend everything, and then she told her friend that there were lots of red flags laying around. There were lots of red flags, but she did not pick it. She also said that him not wanting to divorce his wife was also a red flag, and she said that despite all this, she felt for him. She felt for a married man. And then she said that her mom's birthday was in 2 days, and she felt bad for her mom. And then the little boy that had told Kosti to find a match for Nadia was there, and he felt bad too. He then brought ice cream for Nadia. He gave her the ice cream. She took the ice cream. She thanked him, and she licked the ice cream. She was shedding tears and crying. Nali was then saying on how she made a big mistake by going with him. She made a big mistake by falling for a married man, and that he had just disappeared. He probably lost interest and just disappeared. And now it was her mom's birthday in 2 days, and he was nowhere to be found. And even her mom felt bad. She went ahead to tell her best friend all this, and she sobbed. And then the little boy came with the ice cream, and he gave her ice cream, and she took the ice cream, and she continued crying. Then she said that he has probably gone back to his wife, and then she said that she remembered when she was telling his wife that they still had the chance and she should let things work out. Then she told her friend that maybe they were back together. She told her friend she felt so bad and she didn't know what to do about it. And then she kept on crying, and then at her house, she then looked at the mirror and she told herself that she could do this, she could forget about Kirsty, and she could do better. She kept on encouraging herself, telling herself that she could do it, and that Kirsty was not going to he was not going to make her feel bad, and she was going to try to forget about him. She tried to tell herself that. And then she also told Kirsty that she tried also told herself that she was so better She was 100% better before Kirsty came along, so she could also feel better and do better and live without him. Now he has left. Then after it all, it was then finally the next day, her mom's 60th birthday. A lot of people came. They were so happy for her mom. They were so happy for her. There were a lot of people, and then just then Kirsty also showed up at the birthday party, and just then somebody called said that they were going to call in the birthday girl, the birthday celebrant, and then they called in Nali's mom, and Nali was walking in with her. She looked so beautiful. She had a nice outfit on, and Kirsty couldn't help but stare at her. He looked at her and realized she was so beautiful. He knew that before, but he just could not take his eyes off her because she looked so incredibly good. She looked so gorgeous. So he just stared at her for a long time. And then he just stared at her for a long time. And then finally, it was time to cut the cake, and Nali's mom came and she cut the cake, and everybody was so happy. They were all cheering and they were happy for her because she was turning 60, and everybody around was so happy for her because she was a very nice woman and she had lots of friends. She liked everybody. She made everybody feel good around her, and she made everyone her friend. So everyone was happy, and there was a lot of turn up for her. People were so happy, and a lot of people came for her birthday. So as they cut the cake, she was happy, and then after everything, they then went to while Nali's mom was cutting her cake. Um, Kirsty stood close to Nali. He then told Nali that they had to talk. Nali then told him that it was okay and they could talk later. And then he then started to talk. He told Nali that they needed to talk, and he told her sorry for ghosting her. And he said that he should have called, but he made a mistake. He was trying to reason everything. He was trying to put his life together and think through to know what he wanted to do next. This was obviously because of the kiss they shared and all about it. And then he said that he made a mistake, that he should have called her, he should have replied her calls or replied her texts, but he didn't do any of it, and he apologized, said he was so sorry and he just needed to take time. He said he needed to think a lot of things over, and he was sorry he didn't pick her calls or return her texts or even call her back. He was sorry. And then Nali told him not to worry, that it was all good. And then he looked at Nali and saw she was trying to be tough. And then and then he, after apologizing for ghosting her, and then it was time for her mom to, then he was telling Nali that everything was going well until he saw his wife's picture. He couldn't think straight. And then it was time for Nali's mom to do her dance. Then they called us that they were going to have two judge, which was Nali and Kosti. Then they told them to take the seat as the judge. As they did, as they took their seat as the judge, everybody was then looking at the dance. The dance performance was so good. Then Kosti told someone sitting close to him, told the lady that one of the aunties that was dancing, that she had lost her child and her husband in a car accident, but still she's putting a smile on her face and she's trying to live her life because she, and he was just telling the lady of how proud he was about the lady that had lost her husband and her only child in a car accident, but she was still so happy and she was still full of life, smiling and dancing. Then, after saying all of this, he then told her about the other lady that was dancing, said that she had had four or 5 surgeries within 4 months, but she was still so happy. She had joy in her. She was still so vibrant and she was dancing and she was taking life as she saw it. And after saying all of this, he then tried to talk to Nali, who didn't reply, and she just shifted from him where they were sitting. He saw that Nali was trying to keep her distance, and then he said Nali was trying to keep her distance, and then he tried to explain to her, but Nali told him not to explain, and they were adults, and he didn't need to explain anything. Then when they started to dance, they danced with passion, and then after the dance, Nali's mom then called Nali and Kosti up to the stage and told them that they were going to dance for them and perform for them. Nali tried to say no to her mom, but her mom left the stage and left her mom left she and Kosti on the stage and they had to dance. When the dance started, Kosti started to dance, but Nali tried to back out and leave. And when she tried to leave, Kirsty brought her back and then they started to dance. They danced so much with passion. And then Nali was then trying to reconsider everything that she had said to herself about not speaking to him again. And then finally, when the dance was over, Kirsty then came so close to her. He brought his face so close to her. They were just about to kiss. But just then as they were about to kiss, everybody was still cheering for the nice dance that they had done. Just then Ray came in. Ray was Kirsty's ex. She came in and then she saw Nali. She then ran to hug Nali and she told Nali that she was so happy that Nali helped them and now everything has changed. Now they've worked everything out and they were happy. Then Nali had this, she wanted to cry. She felt that it was she said she felt because Ray told her that because of the advice, they were okay now and they were happy. So now thought that they were back together, and she then, just as Kirsty was trying to explain what had happened to her, Ray then dragged Kirsty out for them to dance because her favorite song started playing. And then Nali felt like the whole world was crumbling before her. She then tried her best to leave. As she was leaving, Kirsty was still staring at her. He could not leave Ray where she was. And then Nali went outside and she was sobbing and she was out there crying and really felt bad with everything. She was just thinking to herself that she was the one that made them come back together, and it seemed so impossible the way they hated each other, but she had made them come back together, and now she was feeling bad about it. Then as she was sitting outside crying and trying to not ruin her makeup. So because it was her mom's birthday, she didn't want to create a scene. She was crying outside. Then her friend came to her, and she then told her friend that she was a good matchmaker and she was the reason why they were back together. And she said she fell for him. And now that they were finally back together, she felt like they should not be together and she was so selfish. She then also explained to her friend she how their relationship was so bad and she didn't even think they were going to come back together, but now they came back together all thanks to her. She kept on saying she was a good matchmaker, but now she felt so bad for them and she said she was so selfish for feeling so bad. And while they were still talking about all this, she said she was selfish and that she really felt bad that she shouldn't have fallen for him, but she fell for him and now she loves him. But he has gone back to be with his ex-wife, and now she felt so bad about herself as she was saying all this. Kosti came behind, and when he came behind, he then went to her and she cleaned her tears, and her friend then left them so they could talk alone. Her friend left so they could have a moment to themselves and try to resolve whatever was going on between them. Then when Kirsty came, she told Kirsty congrats because they were back together. She said she was happy for them, and Kirsty told her she should be happy for them because She when she said congrats, she didn't say it was because they're back together. She just told him congrats because they were both now happy and she was happy for them too. And he said yes, she should be happy for them because she was the reason why they were happy now. And then he then explained to her, he then apologized to her again for not picking her calls and all that. And then he explained to her that he thanked her for making thanked her and said that he was now free and he has sorted it out. Nali then looks confused and asked him what he was talking about. He then said that the divorce had been granted, and then Nali was still trying to understand it all because it did not make sense to her. And she thought they were back together. She thought they were happy. She thought she was the reason why they were back together, and they were no longer getting a divorce. Then he explained to Nali that when she left, he was trying to really put his thoughts together, and he found out that he knew what he had to do. He then traveled, took a flight and went to meet Ray where she was. And then he said they talked all evening and they finally sorted out all their differences. And after sorting out all their differences, he then agreed for the divorce and it took 4 days for their divorce to be granted. That was why he wasn't picking her calls or texting her back that time.